All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over the standing position. Okay, something that we've talked a lot about in our past videos, but we're going to be talking about the over-under position right here, the over-under clinch. Okay, so in previous videos, I talked about how this is going to be, I think, the best foundation for someone to learn takedowns. Actually, where I became more of a believer in it is, obviously I grew up wrestling. The over-under position is something you don't really see a lot in the American system of wrestling. It's more of like a Greco-Roman approach, which is a lot bigger in like Russia and in Europe. Okay, and it's something that's been lost over time, is the upper body battle here. Okay, and I think this is such a crucial position to understand when you guys are first learning takedowns, also all the way to the highest level, which we'll get to, because one, if you guys can force a clinch, you can already take out half of the takedown battle. Meaning, like, when you're in open space, okay, you have to worry about people shooting in on your legs. Okay, if you're at arm's distance, like Nate's getting collar ties, you got to worry about the judo here, right? The big rotations into throws. Once you get into the over-under, okay, of course there's still throws, of course there's still leg grabs, but because you're so close, a lot of times you're going to be able to feel it based on your opponent's base. Okay, you just need the awareness of what options there are, right? Another reason why I really like the over-under position, maybe this is gearing towards more experienced players, is if you guys can get to the over-under, you can wear on your opponent a lot from this position. You can make them work very hard. You see this, you see a lot of the Dagestan wrestlers or guys like Khabib and Islam, like if you watch their training footage, these guys are wrestling a lot from the over-under because it's taxing. And I think there's like this belief, at least for the more experienced players, like there's this belief, and I think it comes from the American system of wrestling, is that we want to get on the head and we want to just keep pulling on the head. The thing is, in jiu-jitsu, people stand a lot more upright. So if I go for Nate's neck, it's kind of like, I could understand if Nate was in a lower stance, it would make sense that hang on the head. But if we're standing upright, which if you guys watch jiu-jitsu, most people are standing more upright, hanging on the head doesn't really make sense. And I don't think it really fatigues people as much as people think. But I think if you can get into over-under position, you can start pressuring, pushing into your partner, pummeling, digging underhooks, and creating a battle there. I think that's much more taxing. Okay, I always tell my students, knowing how to fight in the over-under is like being, if we're talking about fighting, is almost like being like a Ilia Topuria, like someone that's really good in the pocket. Okay, so if you can be dangerous in the pocket, right, and no one wants to stand in front of you, it makes your takedowns that much higher, because then you're already kind of leading the dance. You're fighting in a position most people don't even want to be in, which is close. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into like an overall system. So I want to reference one of our old videos we posted. It was about like the first takedown system that a beginner should learn. So we're going to show some of those options, and we're adding a little bit more to it because I want this to be kind of for all levels. But we'll draw a link to that if you guys want to see that video. But let's talk about the over-under, okay? Over-under here. I have one underhook, one overhook, okay? The number one thing when you guys get into this position is you want to try to leverage your underhook, okay? Because technically this is a 50-50 position. I want to make sure that it's slightly into my advantage. And the way that we do that is we need to get our underhook arm high, okay? But I can't just simply do that because Nate's going to be closing down on it. So how do we leverage our underhook? And that goes in the way that we stand here. So take a look at my front foot. I'll turn this way. See how my front foot is straight? What I want to do is drop my butt so that my shoulder is lower than Nate's collarbone. And I want to blade my front foot here. Okay, so let's rotate. So look at if I'm square here. Look at if I drop my level and blade my front foot. I'm bringing my hip underneath my elbow so I can create height with that underhook. Again, we're here. So if I'm driving into Nate, I want to turn my blade my front foot and stick my butt out here to support that underhook. Okay, so some of the most accessible takedowns just from the over-under. Let's just imagine Nate wasn't very strong in this position, right? If I can get an underhook high enough, I could simply step around, get a body lock, okay? Or if I'm trying to step around to the underhook side, Nate circles away, I can go S grip, step around, we can go body lock the other side, okay? These are like the opening attacks from that position, right? The thing is, people like who are experienced there or that just have experience in the stand-up, it's actually kind of hard to just straight body lock them. Although the body lock is the king of all the takedowns because it leads to a more dominant pin, right? You'll take them straight to their back, land on top of the hips. Most of the time, highly unlikely, right? Like you're gonna be able to just get to a trapped arm body lock. So a lot of times in the over-under, I'm always telling my students, once you guys get here, you're pummeling for 2 underhooks, always, okay? And I'm not saying you're gonna get 2 underhooks, but the constant pressure, I'm gonna demonstrate with Nate. I'm here and I'm driving here. I'm constantly pummeling and pulling, okay? So those motions that need to be a constant to make your partner work is pummeling. So you guys can do a little pummel drill. A lot of people have seen this. Okay, you need to get used to pummeling and you need to get used to pulling. So the off balance, whenever I feel pressure, I step to the side and I pull with my underhook. Okay, pulling with my underhook as I step to the side. And you do that when you feel pressure. So when you want to create pressure, you guys need to be swimming underhooks. Swimming, swimming, swimming. Okay, creating pressure. If I'm driving into Nate, I'm swimming and I'm driving into him, swimming, boom. When I feel pressure, I'm pulling. So standard when you're in this position, you're swimming, and when you feel pressure, you pull. Swim, pull. Okay, that's standard. Okay, so again, like I said, right when we get an over-under, we're making our partner work. Okay, we're making them pummel, we're making them regain their stance after we off balance. Now the first takedown, other than the body lock that I look for, is an arm drag. Okay, so there's really two main openings I see from this position for arm drags. The main one is, okay, so after I off balance Nate, okay, boom, here. What you'll notice is if someone's tense in the over under and you off balance them, the upper body will relax a little bit because they're trying to regain balance. I always give the analogy like if you push someone, right, and they kind of relax their upper body to find balance, that's what happens when you pull someone. Obviously to a small degree, okay, but it's small enough to disconnect the underhook down to just your rib level here. So imagine Nate's pressuring into me. I off balance him. So my hand's right here at the elbow. I off balance and I slide my hand down to the rib. Let's show that again. So here it's Nate's pushing into me. So look, as soon as I off balance, I slide my hand to the rib. Or excuse me, I slide my Nate's underhook hand to my rib. All I need with that disconnection here, okay, I can now take a step back, chest escape, and then drag. Okay, very effective here again. So that's generally you're gonna find that moment to relieve the pressure on the underhook, okay, after you off balance. So let's just say I just off balance Nate, boom, here, I press down. And I'm not saying you're gonna disconnect the hand fully, I just need it from an underhook down to my ribs here. That is enough to now chest escape, so I pull my chest back, we drag around, okay? So that's one way you guys can drag. Another way is off of the pummel. Okay, I'm gonna try to get a good angle so you guys can capture this. So oftentimes when we pummel, they pummel too. Boom, boom. So off the pummel, okay, take a look at my right hand. So as we begin to pummel, instead of swimming, okay, this right hand in, as Nate is pummeling his hand, I'm gonna pull the arm down into a drag. Again. So look, this is a pummel, we're pummeling. Slow here, look, I pull down, chest escape, and then down, drag, okay? So either off balance, disconnect the hand and then drag, or you're gonna drag during a pummel, but you have to make sure you chest escape. Again, you pull your chest away as you drag, okay? Again, those are gonna work better when your opponent is pressuring, Okay, so first option we have body locks, trapped arm body locks, digging double underhooks. Okay, the second one we have is arm drags. Then I like to say, okay, if the drags aren't working, you're having a hard time getting a body lock, that's when I like to attack the legs. Okay, now there's really one leg grab that works best from over under, and that's a head outside single. Okay, now the two ways that I like to get a head outside single. Again, first one's always off of an off balance. Okay, so it's just Nate pushes into me, I off balance him. Okay, now again, take that same C grip, but instead of going to the wrist, let's turn this way, I'm gonna take a side step. And I've shown this in previous videos, but look, I'm gonna go directly to the side as I jam that elbow to Nate's ribs and I level change to the leg. Okay, now from here you have head outside single. You guys can finish running the pipe. You can switch off to a double leg. Okay, you can switch off to the double leg. There's a lot of options on finishing from there. But again, that's after off balance. So Nate's pressuring into me. I pull, sidestep, and then now we're in on the leg. Another very effective way that I like to use that, okay, whether the slide by doesn't work or maybe Nate's pressuring me. So if he's pushing into me, look at how I shift my stance. So I'm a right leg lead right now. I shift my stance. And then we're going to do, I call it a sprinter step, because I'm going to take a step back and then launch forward while I level change. Here. So the footwork is back, forward, forward. Again, so Nate's pushing. I put the brakes on the pressure. We're building up that tension. And look, I'm going to sprinter step. 1, 2. Okay? And then now we're in the head outside single. Okay? So that's the main leg grab you guys get there. Now, after you guys start attacking the legs, what happens is your opponent starts respecting it. You even just touch the knee, they kind of bring their butt back. And again, when I'm looking to connect takedowns, I like to look at how my moves affect my opponent's stance. So if I'm here, I grab Nate's leg, his butt goes back and his chest forward, take a step. Look at this here. Now is a perfect time to snap them down. So maybe I go for the leg. Nate brings his hips back. I'm still going to pummel. Okay, as I pummel, I'm going to do that same chest escape. Okay, and I'm going to pull in the underhook as I go over the head. Snap down. Okay, so here. Okay, mid pummel. Look at how I chest escape. And I'm going to pull at the underhook right here. Okay, and I swim my arm over. Okay, a lot of times I see people do this, and it's not wrong. Again, this fascination with pulling on the neck. Okay, but you'll find that actually pulling at the shoulder does a lot better of a job at snapping your partner down than just purely using the neck. So again, mid pummel, okay, as we're pummeling, look at how I chest escape and I pull at the shoulder, my hand just goes over the top to cover. Okay, and that'll lead you into the front headlock position. Okay, another way to get there, let's just say I go to the Nate's leg, but he's still standing upright. Okay, he's still standing upright. So if I try to do it the same way here, and I try to swim over his head, he's just gonna duck under. So what we have to do is break the posture. The way we're gonna do that is we're gonna get a shoulder clamp. Same way, but I'm gonna take a little bit more time to break him down at the shoulder. So what that's gonna look like is we're here. Okay, I swim. Okay, and I'm going to lock at his shoulder, circle a little bit, and then now I draw into the front headlock. Mic's off. So we're here. Okay, Nate's still upright. As I'm pummeling, look slow. Look, instead of going over here, because he's still tall, I just lock. And then now I cover the head, front headlock. Okay, so we have body lock. Okay, trapped arm and double unders, right? Double unders is here. Okay, we've shown some finishes in previous videos, but like, for example, here you can basically step behind, you could go forward. Nate brings his butt back. You guys can even attack the sides here. Okay, we have arm drags. Boom. Okay, we have head outside singles. And then we have front headlocks. Okay, so these are the main four that I like to teach. to my students from the over-under position. I really think that if you get used to chaining them and you be relentless with working on them, one, they're very efficient. Okay, so even if you don't get it, it's not as taxing as like shooting all the way from out here and like doing these big shots. Okay, you're not gonna get sprawled on. Okay, and you can give, like I said, I like to go rounds with my in class where I have the students start here, and I just say, look, either get to the front body lock, trapped arm, rear body lock, front headlock, or single. Okay, and just stop there. And you guys can just do long rounds where you're just training to there. You don't even have to go all the way to the floor yet. And I feel like that's a great way to, one, build stamina, but also to build confidence in that position. Okay, and then over time, what you'll find is like when you guys are rolling live from the feet, okay, you shake hands. If you guys see our Philly shell video, you can literally just march down at people like this. As you pressure them, either they're gonna post on you, right? You can create space to get in. They might even panic wrestle and shoot on you, and then they'll end up in an over-under. Or you're just gonna run them around the mat. You're just gonna chase them down until you can get into that position. And then you can start making them work and chaining together all the attacks. Cool? So guys, that was a big overview of like all the options. Within all those options, there's a lot of specific details. If you guys would like us to expand on any of those, please leave us a comment. Let us know if you guys want to see any of those, like a full-length video describing all the, like, for example, arm drag or front headlock, kind of if you want us to show some systems on that. But yeah, guys, put it to practice. Let us know how it works for you guys. And as always, if you guys can like and subscribe to support the channel, would be much appreciated. Thank you, guys.